Helopanda Melticus propelled themselves along the autostrada down time, away from the singularity of Les Pyramides, from junction to junction, between places with ever-decreasing claims to centrality. They put one foot in front of the other, as if to suggest forward momentum, catching themselves as they fell by swapping left foot for right foot and right foot for left, the wind in their hair and the exhaust fume in their lungs. It felt good to be kicking off the dust and making a break with the old people. They'd spent too long getting fat, sitting behind the lens flare table with the old people in their fusty old black books. They'd got fat, they laughed, like a real panda. Too much bamboo. Out here on the autostrada, they were truant from their life again, always looking for something. Food, they shouted at the traffic. Drugs. Boys. Although they had to admit to themselves that if they found themselves a boy, they weren't entirely sure what they would do with him. They'd last found one 52 hours ago at a junction that called itself Dopplerplatz. He had taken them up to the 7th floor of a ragged concrete car park, where the two of them drank beer and got fucked up taking hits from his bong. They had a fine old time, until he tried to investigate the contents of their Dayglow girlfriend jodhpurs. They kicked him up the jaw twice, and then they lifted up a shopping trolley and threw it at him. After that, they threatened to throw him off the roof of the multi-storey car park. He ran away. He left a can of beer unfinished. They could hear his belt buckle rattling as he ran. They weren't sure, if they were honest with themselves, that they could remember what he would have found inside their girlfriend jodhpurs anyway. From one day to the next, as the singularity receded behind them, putting one foot in front of the other, onwards into the shabbiness of downtime, the traffic changed, became more primitive, its species ever more quaint. Metallic paint and go-faster stripes. Along this epoch, the cars were more angular, and along the next they displayed imitation rocket pods and fins. Visions of acceleration confused with notions of progress. They saw few other pedestrians along the autostrada. Sometimes the path would exhaust itself. They would be forced to cross a footbridge or an underpass to the next stretch of sanctuary. Some junctions were characterised by Möbius tagliatelle bundles of road, overpass, underpass, throughput. At other junctions, tatters of retail and local industry kept a tenuous fingerhold, laundrettes, freezer food centres, video rentals, international call centres. Their failures marked by "To Let" signs, ribald graffiti fingered in the filthy display windows, declarations of love and war. Food, shouted Helopanda Melticus. Drugs. Boys. They took their chances, stealing TV packs of paprika potato chips from the international supermarkets, bananas from the traffic-grade fresh produce out front. If the stallholders caught them, if they were chased by the shop owner, all the worse for him. They would lure him into the underpass or run across multiple lanes of oncoming traffic, horns blaring as they hopped from roof to bumper to boot, not so much defying gravity as blissfully unaware of its hold upon them. And if he caught up with them, what of it? If the worst came to the worst, they still knew how to push apart the spaghetti strands that make up the pictures of the world. Push the world open with their fingers. They knew that they would be able to step inside and leave the suckers behind. They would step through and into the next place, and the next place, and the next. They were a king of infinite space, and if they chose to walk the autostrada downtime, one foot in front of the other, like a wayfaring stranger, nothing could stop them. Here I am again on my own again, they sang, walking down the only road I've ever known again. Like a drifter I was born to walk alone again. They could tear the tiny world apart, they told themselves, break it up like wet cake and fling it all into the dusty, scrubby wedges of dry grass and beer cans, hubcaps and shuttered brake lights that accumulate in the shadows beneath arcs of knotted traffic systems heading every direction but home. The red-faced shopkeeper, waving his impotent fist at them across the motion blur of lunchtime traffic. He was dead already, but he didn't even know it. Locked into the gravity of family and dependence and stock control and imprudent loans, and his debt to all of it getting heavier by the day. Its elastic bonds pulling him back, straining against this latest blow to his manhood. They'd watched those old people around the lens flare table, those senile kings with their bingo cards, their coffee mornings and their flower arranging. Each preening demiurge with his baroque frou-frou city-state, each cosmic gardener with her archipelago of jewelled islands in space. They would kick all of them over, those pretentious sandcastles of the imaginatively impoverished. And worse than all of that, all the masochistic excitement. Vascotospec's barely controlled desire when they carelessly trashed his terraced epochs of urban mythology. They are like food and the eater of food, he had rhapsodized. Downtime, things fell apart. The economic and technological certainties that had reached an apotheosis at Les Pyramides declined. All that was convergent became tenuous. Friable attempts at culture and currency were characterized by temporary local regimes, pompous in their impermanence. The towers and colonnades that they left in their wake were uninhabitable, impossible to maintain, broken up into lozenges of bedsits amidst the empty rooms plastered with damp old newspaper, the wind whistling in the teeth of broken windows. Food, drugs, boys. Hello Panda is always hungry.